taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
I have known you, and I think it's for about a decade, for about 10 years.
Almost, yeah.
Right. And that's started, you were teaching ballet, I believe.
Yeah, at the ELC.
ELC.
Yeah.
Right. And I see you go up there. And then I think I asked you if I could be a Facebook friend of yours. And then I started watching your posts and watching how you work out. And I mean, I don't know, to be honest, I know no one personally that has the kind of core strength that you do, nor the flexibility. Tell me, where were you born?
New York. So New York City.
Okay, all right,
And
that's
and just throughout my childhood, I would move around with my dad's job. So jumping around from America, then back to Japan, to Singapore, back to the States. So ultimately, I guess I spent most of my growing up childhood years in the States.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So your first language was English?
It wasn't.
Oh.
I mean...
So how did that work? Tell me how it worked. When you grew up in New York, did you grow up in New York for a while? You were born
for
there?
a little bit. I was born there,
Right.
but only spent a couple of years. So, there's not much talking there, right?
Okay, right.
Moved to Japan.
Okay.
My sister was born.
Right.
And then we moved to Singapore.
Where in Japan did you move? Where to in Japan?
Tokyo.
You were in Tokyo?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't go to school yet. And we moved to Singapore. And I was there until about 8-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the first language that you spoke?
Probably Japanese.
Okay. Because that's what you were learning. What did your parents have you in a type of Hoikuen or something? Or was it just because that's what they spoke to you in?
That was just the home language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What kind of work did your father do?
He was a broker.
He was a broker?
Yeah.
And that led him to traveling everywhere?
Just offices, based in New York, and then one based here,
right,
and then one in Singapore, and so he just kind of got transferred around.
And he took his family with him, and you guys.
Yeah.
So in Singapore, you stayed there until you were how old?
About 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of school did you go to?
I went to a Japanese international school.
So that you really did have to learn Japanese.
I did, yeah.
So you learned to read and write. So when did English come into the picture?
About 9, I guess, 8 or 9 when I moved to America.
Right.
So,
You moved back to America, you mean, after being born there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just say I'm from New York, but I guess, it's kind of hard, I think, with a lot of mixed kids here too, just moving around, kind of finding where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing.
So you said mixed kids. Are you mixed?
I'm not mixed.
Okay.
But
right.
Take my children, for example.
Okay.
They're mixed kids,
mm-hmm.
and eventually they're going to be asked where are they from, and they'll be like, oh, Japan, but maybe they spent some time in the States, which they have, and so they look slightly different from all the other kids,
and, right? Because you plan on keeping them here, raising them up in Japan.
That's the plan.
That's the plan, right?
Yeah.
But you're not sure exactly yet.
Yeah.
So tell me, as a child, you moved around, and when you went to Singapore, you went to a Japanese school. Then from there, you went back to New York.
Back to New York. Yeah.
And then what did you do there? Did you go to another Japanese school?
No, just into the public school system.
Oh, okay, wait. Now in Singapore, you're learning Japanese, but were you learning English at the same time?
I remember having some English language classes,
mm-hmm.
and we had to speak Mandarin too, because that's what they speak there.
Right.
So brand new language really for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how English felt to you.
Yeah.
You went to New York. So you have an older sister as well, don't you?
Younger sister.
Younger sister. That's right.
Yeah.
You're the only one. You confuse me when you tell me. Okay. So she's 2 years younger than you.
Yeah.
And where's she living now?
She's in New York.
In New York.
Yeah.
Does she have children? Is she married? Or?
She is not married.
Okay.
No children.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is she working?
She is working.
Mm-hmm.
She always wanted to. She's always been really good with animals, and so, she was working to become like a
veterinarian.
veterinary,
okay.
yeah, So doing some like vet tech kind of work, which she went to school for. And
tech work?
I'm not really sure,
Okay.
but yeah, that's what she was aiming for. Yeah.
But this involves animals, though?
Yeah, working with animals, I guess mainly like dogs and cats, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. So are you guys close?
We are very close. I mean, we fought like growing up, like any siblings do, right?
Right.
Yeah, but we're close, and
That's good.
we talk quite a bit.
And mom and dad are kinky. I mean, they're healthy.
Yeah, they're healthy.
And they're together.
And they're in Japan.
They're in Japan.
Yeah.
They're not together, but they're in Japan. Okay. And you told me that you're really close with your dad.
I am, yeah. I think it's difficult through like the teenage years, right? But you know, I think as we have gotten older too, yeah, we've gotten much closer. There was a period where we weren't like physically in the same country because, you know, I stayed in New York.
Okay, whereas so you went there when you were about 8.
That's correct, and then we did all of our school years
in the public school system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then me and my sister decided to stay.
Did you live together?
At some point, yeah.
Okay.
And my parents returned to Japan.
But wait, this was after high school?
After high school, so after my sister finished high school.
Okay, so that means you had to have been 19 or 20.
Yeah, around 20.
20 at that time.
Yeah.
And she was just 18 or 19.
Yeah.
18, right.
And then they moved back to Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Did you go to college? What did you do?
I didn't go to university, so I was in a public school, you know, just regular high school. I think, you know, that I have a dance background, so I was doing classical ballet, as you know, my job.
Wait. Now, when did you start dancing? When did you start dancing?
Oh, I was probably around 6.
When you that's when it hit you.
It actually didn't come like that for me. I think like a lot of dancers and other artists, they have this very romantic story about how they, you know, saw, you know, that was their dream from when they were 3 years old. I actually don't have that.
Okay, what's yours like? I mean, just honestly, when you tell me how you morphed into it.
I think when I take on something like a project, right, I usually go into it like 200%. I don't fall in love with something like falling in love with someone, for example, too. It's not like love at first sight. Whereas it's more like I grow to love something.
I understand.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like I was just thrown into it because it was my mom's dream that I would become a ballet dancer.
Is she a ballet dancer?
She isn't.
Okay. But that was her dream.
Yeah, she wanted me to be a dancer. Okay. She wanted my sister to be a dancer. And so she threw us in there. It was a good after-school activity for girls, right? Most girls, I think, dance. And so that's how I began. And, you know, I think because I'm such like a perfectionist and I get super ambitious and quite competitive, I think that's how, you know, it evolved into this thing that, you know, that I was good at and, you know, that I loved.
Okay.
So
when do you think that point hit you when you thought, I mean, wait, do you see yourself continuing to dance?
I actually started not long ago again. So I was teaching for a little bit, but I just decided one day, I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm just going to put my pointe shoes back on. And so I'm kind of training myself back up to be able to, I think, not dance on stage, like, you know, join a company again. Because I think with 2 kids and, you know, a job where I have to support, you know, the 3 of us and, you know, like just life, right? Life stuff gets in the way for me to be able to just, you know, commit to being a dancer, an artist.
Right, because your time's not yours.
Yeah, exactly. So not something like that, but to be able to do like, you know, a gig here and there, or, you know, I think that would be fun to do.
Because I saw in your post when you said, I'm finally feeling my core again. I'm getting my core back into place, finally.
Yeah.
And you do these incredible type movements and exercise, which I do want to post. I want to post some of this up so people have an idea of how strong your core is and what you're doing, the kind of things you do. And don't you have a following base? Don't you teach online or something like that? It seemed like
not publicly, like I have a few like private clients, but it's one-on-one, and we do it over, you know, FaceTime or something like that.
Is that anything that you ever thought about expanding and making it bigger?
You know, I did think about it, but there's so many like fitness influencers out there now that I'm just like, oh, I don't know if it's something I actually want to do.
Right.
I kind of like that one-on-one relationship I have. And I know, like, from like a business perspective, that's not how you make money.
Right. You can't scale unless you scale it. There's no way in the world you're gonna do it. But then that requires a lot of time. People don't realize how much time that takes.
Yeah.
To scale up to a big number.
Absolutely, it takes time. But I think for me, it's not just about like, obviously making money is important, but I like the one-on-one relationship that I kind of, you know, get to have.
How long have you had? What's the longest person you've had so far? In time, I mean years. How many years have you had them?
So I work at Tokyo Physio, so that's one-on-one in person. And then I have my online clients, but I've been working there since about 8 years ago.
I think so.
And so I have clients from that time, just from when I started, and they're still coming to me now. There's some of them that have moved away from Japan. Yeah.
And they're still with you.
Yeah.
Isn't that the beauty of the internet?
Yes.
It's so good. And you can see them, and it seems like you can still see how they are, what they're doing, because you can actually see them.
Yeah.
You say, it looks like it's getting a little chubby around there. You need to pull that in some.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
So you do that on a regular basis. How much time does that take of yours, like weekly?
So just this morning I was working with a guy. He lives in Chicago.
Oh, so you do men as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Why not?
No, I'm not. No, I have no qualms about that. It's just not a lot of people, I think, particularly men.
Yeah.
They can do the type of stuff I've seen you do.
Yeah.
So they'd have to be dance quality. In a lot of cases, I think.
Maybe. He doesn't have any dance background.
Okay.
But I think that people are also starting to be aware that it's not just about strength and, like, you know, actually being mobile is what's important.
And flexible. You need to have the flexibility.
Yeah.
You're also a single mom.
I am.
You mentioned that. And how do you manage that?
I don't know. I've been doing it I feel like for a while now.
Because your daughter's, how old is she now?
She's 10, almost 11, and then my son is 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you have them go to a hoikuin, and your daughter's in school now? So,
she's in school.
So you have to try to time it to that, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And your son can be in a hoikuin until she finishes.
So hoikuin, the Japanese system, I think, is amazing.
You really enjoy it?
I really think it's just like, I don't think you can get that much, you know, like quality care, like childcare anywhere else in the world. I mean, I don't know because I haven't really done it in America or, you know, anywhere else. But, you know, just like the stories that you hear, like not just the quality, but like how expensive it is too, right? And in Japan, it's, at least as far as I know, where I live, it's a sliding scale also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Depending upon your income.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but just the quality, like my son's school has their own like nutritionist. They have 4 cooks that like prepare all their meals from breakfast until dinner. if necessary. So he could be there from, I think, 7 to 8 p.m. if he needed to be.
Right.
Yeah. And, I trust them that I could
That's
leave him.
That's the most important part.
Yeah. I don't like to leave him for that long, but there are going to be days, where I do have to do that. So,
right. But it still has to be difficult for you. I mean, even with that,
that's true.
Emotionally and physically, it has to be difficult for you to be able to work and still raise your children alone.
It's, it is difficult, but it's definitely worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So do you think that it's easy for women here in Japan, basically, like, to be a single mother? Because I've been hearing they're starting to bring that topic up now.
Are they?
Yes, I've been seeing it in the news where they're talking about single mothers and how they're not getting the help they really need for helping their kids and to bring up a family. And again, parenting. How many of us are taught, period, how to raise another human being? So tell me, what are some of the most difficult times you've had in your life so far? And how did you come out of it? First tell me the difficult time, then tell me.
Oh, that's a difficult one.
Yes.
Of course, it's never easy to part ways with, like a partner who you've had a child with. That's one. Parting also from, like ballet, for example, was something that I absolutely loved. It was my life, parting from that when I had Sasha, my first daughter, right? So that's, I think, parting ways with something, leaving something, maybe it was by choice, maybe, it was circumstances that, in life that made you have to make the choice. I think that's, generally speaking, I think that's the hardest moments I've had.
How did you deal with that one when you were pregnant with Sasha and you decided, okay, ballet is not going to be my thing for a while?
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
I think, to be honest with you, I think I don't know if I dealt with it so well. Like, I usually go way down, but I think it's okay to feel bad or to feel sad, and you have to sit in your feelings, right? Sometimes, and I've let it like ride out the feelings before, and it can take quite some time. Sometimes, it could be weeks, it could be months. It's. But just let it ride out, and then.
Well, obviously it didn't go away because you said just recently you got up and said, "Let me put these shoes back on."
That's true. I think it's like, again, it was what sparked it. Actually, was a client who's, I think, becoming a friend of mine also, who asked me, "Do you want to be a part of something like a filming project that he's taken on, and they're looking for dancers?" And I was like, "Oh, that sounds actually like a really fun thing to do." And it kind of freaked me out because, I haven't danced in a really long time. But anyway, I decided, okay, yeah, count me in. And,
But how much time did you have to get yourself together so you could do it?
It's like a couple weeks. It wasn't like point shoes, on stage, anything like that.
But you had to move your body.
That's true. I mean, I already move my body, right?
Right.
Just not like how I used to, not that, intense.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very comfortable with movement. That's okay. I always dancing around in the house, music is super important to me. So that's always in my ear. So that part I was comfortable with. Dancing in front of people definitely freaked me out. But
you're not comfortable with dancing in front of people?
I haven't done it for so long.
Well, what about while you were doing it? Were you really nervous before you had to come out on stage, or?
Yeah, I think that's normal to get anxious.
When did you get okay? When was it okay? After you started?
It's just once you're on stage, everything kind of just disappears. It's everything. You're in this own your own world, right? Once you're on stage and you have the lights and you have the music, especially when you have live music, you're so in it that it doesn't matter what if there's people around you watching, or you're not even thinking about that. You're like really in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Did you like those times?
Absolutely. And I think it was just like when he proposed to that project, it freaked me out on one side, but I remembered all of those feelings too. And, it was just kind of like, oh, what the hell? Like, well, why not?
I want some more. I want some more.
Yeah, why not try it? And it was so fun.
You did it?
I did it. I ended up doing it. And it was in the middle of like Shinjuku, I think near Kabukicho.
How long ago was this?
Mid-December.
Okay, so it's recent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that kind of sparked
you
something.
Alone?
He had like a whole film crew.
No, but I mean, were you the only person performing?
Oh, no, there were other artists also.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, just providing the music? Or, I mean, were you the only dancer?
No, it was a bunch of dancers.
I
didn't meet, we were filmed one by one.
Oh, I see. And then you put it together.
But he's piecing it together, I suppose.
I see, okay.
Yeah. But
so when you were doing it, it was just you?
It was just me.
I see.
Yeah.
And people were just, anyone wandering around could see it?
Yeah.
If you happen to be there.
Exactly, on the street,
Okay. I got it. I know. So like maybe you were walking down a thing or whatever, doing some moves, and people just passing by, and the guys in front with the camera. Okay.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
How long is it?
I don't actually know.
How long did you have to do it?
I think we spent like a half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty short. He's going to have snippets of each person. It's going to be interesting. Do you know how many people he's going to put together?
I think there were 20 dancers that participated. So, like I might only be in the thing for a second, right?
I understand, right.
That's fine. But the whole experience was, what was like, it just started this thing, right?
That's right. So after that, then you thought, okay, let me get back in shape.
In shape for dancing.
Right.
Yeah. And let me try to, it sparked a feeling of me wanting to take part in more projects like this, or work with, another photographer friend that I have, and, just get me back to doing something that I used to really love, because it did make me happy. And I guess connecting back to the whole parenting thing, I think if I'm happy, it makes me a better parent.
There's no joke about that.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Not that I'm not happy.
I understand.
But I think, when you talk about something that you love and you can feel it, just coming out of them.
Right.
It's kind of like that. And I want my children to be able to see that also.
You said exactly what I was going to say, but I didn't say it. I let you say it, but that's true. It's so good for your kids to be able to see you doing something you love, that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
If you were to go back into time, what time would you go back to, and what advice would you give her, and what would you know now?
What would I tell myself?
And when would you be doing this? How old would you be? What would be the situation that you go back to advise yourself?
I don't know if I would give myself advice. I think all the things that I've had to go through, all of the struggles, right, have made me who I am. So maybe I actually needed to go through those things. And as painful as it might have been, all those times that I have been down, I think maybe that's why I'm able to pick myself up now, or, that I can have a positive outlook when things do fall out of place now.
Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you for having me.
Really. We're going to do this again sometime, I'm sure. Click like and subscribe. And remember, it's all on loan. So continue to reach for the stars, because you're too blessed to be stressed.